What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to my YouTube channel and welcome to Premier League Roundup for Week 5. For this weekly review, we will be going over every single fixture and we will be going over every single result with my thoughts on each game. We'll get right off the mark here with the first game of the week, Liverpool versus Newcastle. Now, this was a very interesting game because right from the beginning, Liverpool had a slight scare with Jetro Willems scoring in the 7th minute. Now, in order for Newcastle to even have a chance in this game, playing away from home at Anfield, they needed to go into halftime 1-0 up or keep it level at 1-1. But after Mane scored that goal late in the first half, it really made it tough for Newcastle to possibly score another one in the second half. In the second half, you could see that Liverpool were just coming in waves and waves of attack. And that front three will always give Liverpool a chance to score goals and win games. Since Firmino came on for Origi in the first half, he really made the difference in the game and for me was the man of the match. Firmino lit the game up with some dazzling flicks and he set up Salah for that third goal with a wonderful flicked pass. Firmino really is that glue to that front three, and I really think he's only now starting to get a lot of the credit that he deserves. He is one of the most unselfish strikers in the Premier League, and he really allows his two wingers to run alongside him as he almost sometimes plays that false nine role. He is able to assist really well, and his fancy flicks and the way he holds up the ball really allows those two wingers, Salah and Mane, to get forward and score goals. Not to mention, he is also a great finisher in front of goal. When it was 2-1 in the second half, Newcastle did have that great chance from Kraft to put the game level. That would have changed the whole dynamic of the game as Liverpool would have been scrambling to try to score that third and game-winning goal, which probably would have opened up the game, allowing for some chances for Newcastle as well. But this didn't happen and Liverpool come away with a 3-1 decisive victory. Moving right along, we take a trip to Old Trafford where Manchester United were taking on the likes of Leicester. Now, in all honesty, this was not a very exciting game. There were not that many chances. United were awarded a penalty shot on a rash challenge from Soyuncu to take that early 1-0 lead. From that point forward, James Maddison had a chance off of a blunder from Victor Lindelof, who took a stumble in the box, but David De Gea made a very wonderful foot save to keep the game at 1-0 for Manchester United. From this point forward, there were not that many chances for either teams. A couple of chances coming from United offset pieces and one late chance for Ndidi to tie up the game in stoppage time. Other than that, Manchester United not playing up to standards once again. And Leicester might have even been favorites for this game, but they could not find an opportunity to score. Because of the lack of chances for Leicester City and the lack of chances for Manchester United throughout this game, the score ends 1-0. We move now to Molineux Stadium where Wolves are looking to find form against Chelsea. Now, this is a very entertaining game from a neutral point of view with a number of goals from both sides. Chelsea opened the scoring thanks to Tomori with a great hit from probably 30 to 35 yards out. He tried his luck and the whip on the ball fooled Rui Patricio in goal. One of the major talking points from this game is Tammy Abraham, who now is joint top goal scorer in the Premier League with 7 goals, coming away with a hat-trick in this game. Now, I said this in my last video as well. I think that Tammy Abraham has all the tools to become a top striker in this league. He's proved it in the championship, and he was also a very threatening goal scorer for Swansea City. I also really like this formation that Frank Lampard has put out for this Chelsea side. Both Emerson and Marcus Alonso are attacking minded fullbacks, and playing 3 at the back and those 2 wing backs really allows those 2 to get forward without having to worry too much about their defensive duties, because they will have 3 center backs to back them up. Now Tomori has really come into the side and made a name for himself. He has really become a lifeline for this Chelsea defense with the injuries that they have back there, and possibly even arguably the lack of quality. But he's come in there. He's a great ball handling center back. We see him get forward for Tammy Abraham's first goal of the game. As well, Willian is looking fit and looking dangerous again, very skillful in that midfield. Once they get N'Golo Kanté back, I really think this Chelsea team could make a run for the top 4 if they keep their form up. Now, in terms of the Wolves, even the manager said it himself. They did not play a very good game. I don't think there was much positive to take from this game either, and the defending looked absolutely terrible. Connor Cody got beaten numerous times by Tammy Abraham, so that will be something that the Wolves will have to sort out going forward. They will need to find confidence, and they will need to find goal scoring as they move into the next few weeks, so that they can try to move up the table and out of the relegation zone. Mason Mount finishes this game off with a brilliant cutback and finish into the bottom right corner as Chelsea win this game 5-2. From here, we move on to Amex Stadium, where Brighton are taking on Burnley. Brighton seems to control most of this game, hoisting 62% possession and the majority of the chances, although Burnley did get that real early chance from Jack Cork. They took the lead early in the second half from a great finish from Neil Maupay, but you have to question the Burnley defending as he was unmarked for almost 5 seconds. And it's great to see Brighton stepping up and playing with more confidence, taking it to teams. They have played more attacking football to start this season, and it really shows through the stats. Although they did lose one of their key men last season, Knockhart, they did add 2 forward players to bolster their attacking force, namely Neil Maupay and the likes of Leandro Trossard. Last season, Brighton finished just above the relegation zone, and a lot of it was to do with the lack of goal scoring. Last season, they averaged less than 3 shots on target per game, and this season, in the first 5 games, they've already averaged more than 5 shots on target per game. Now, this is a huge step as they've almost doubled the amount of shots on target they're getting, and you can see that they've already started to play more attacking like football, which should hopefully lead to some better results for Brighton in the future. Let's head down now to Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, where we see a thwomping 4-0 victory for Tottenham over Crystal Palace. Now, missing Son Heung-min for those first 2 games was a huge loss to Tottenham, and you can even see from that game against Arsenal how much threat he provides up front. And you saw it in this game against Crystal Palace. Son is able to run behind defenders, he's able to take on defenders, and he is even able to pick a pass. And let us not forget about his absolutely clinical finishing. Both goals he put in this game were with his weaker foot, and they were not just lucky finishes. He is such a devastating man when he wants to be one. Now, Crystal Palace actually did have more shots on target this game than Tottenham, but they could not find end product. With an own goal from Patrick Van Aanholt set up by Serge Aurier down that right flank, and a goal from Eric Lamela with a brilliant assist from Harry Kane. He always seems to get himself involved, even if he's not scoring. Tottenham take a commanding 4-0 victory and move into that 3rd place spot. We move now down to Bramall Lane, where Southampton were taking on Sheffield United, and this was a pretty even game for the most part. Both teams had some chances, and Oliver McBurney had a goal taken back as a player who affected the play but did not touch the ball was called offside. It was the right decision by VAR. And in the end, it was some brilliance from Gineppo, a solo run through the midfield and past the back line, arguably assisted by the referee who played advantage even though he was fouled through the whole thing, and a brilliant finish in the bottom left corner to seal the deal as this game finished 1-0 to Southampton. We move now to Carrow Road in the Premier League game of the week, where Norwich took on Manchester City. This was an absolutely cracking game from a neutral point of view, and obviously a cracking game from a Norwich point of view, in which Norwich take the victory 3-2 over the Premier League champions. And this was far from your ordinary victory where a giant takes on a smaller side. It was not just Norwich sitting back and trying to defend Manchester City and hitting them on the counter. I mean, it was that sometimes, but you could really see the confidence of Norwich. They stuck to a game plan and they stuck to a certain style of play that they are used to playing. They moved the ball out of the back and through the middle very well, and multiple times they were able to break the Manchester City press. They took the lead just 18 minutes in thanks to a goal from McLean, and it was a great goal off of a corner kick, a powerful header into the top corner that honestly was asking questions of this Manchester City defense. And Norwich continued to ask questions of this Manchester City defense throughout the rest of the game, capitalizing on their mistakes. The second goal was a mistake from a couple of players, in my opinion. Now, you can say all you want that it is just John Stones' fault, but I think it is also the fault of Kyle Walker. In this situation, the center backs are the ones who are deciding whether to step up or to drop back. And in this case, John Stones decided to step up and try to play Teemu Pukki offside as the ball was played through. Kyle Walker did not read this, or it was not communicated by John Stones, but either way, Kyle Walker should have pushed up and tried to play Teemu Pukki offside just as John Stones did. What ended up happening is Kyle Walker did not push up. He left Teemu Pukki onside. It led to a through ball that left Kyle Walker alone. Teemu Pukki lays the ball across to Cantwell and he puts it in the open goal. A wonderful assist by Teemu Pukki, might I add. Sergio Aguero scores right before halftime to give Manchester City some hope in this tie. But not far after halftime, Manchester City's defense is riddled with mistakes again. A terrible back pass by Otamendi leads Teemu Pukki on an almost breakaway, which he cannot convert on, leading to a goal kick, which is then blundered by Otamendi. He doesn't see Buendia coming in behind him. Buendia takes the ball off of him, lays it across to Teemu Pukki, who puts it in the net with a wonderful finish over the goalkeeper. This set up Norwich to go up 3-1. Rodrigo scores late to make it 3-2, and Norwich hold on for a stunning victory over Manchester City. Let's move on now to Vicarage Road, where Watford were taking on Arsenal. Now, in the first half, Arsenal created quite a few chances and scored 2 goals because of it. And you could say going into the second half, you would have picked them to be the victors. Watford needed to sharpen up their game defensively, and they needed to provide a little bit more going forward. Their only spark really being De La Feu creating a couple of chances. Now, moving into the second half, you can really see where this game went wrong for Arsenal. Tactically, they lined up in a very narrow formation as they did against Liverpool in a 4-3-1-2, not playing any wingers out wide. And this really played into the hands of Watford, as It allowed the flanks to be open for the likes of De La Feu to get forward. And even though this is where the majority of the chances were coming from, Unai Emery did not change his formation. Even the substitutions he made did not really counteract this situation, even though to me I thought it was pretty obvious. He did bring on Lucas Torreira to try to solid up that midfield, and he tried to support Maitland-Niles when De La Feu would cut inside. But this did not stop Watford from creating chances. I think what also happened is Arsenal continued to try to go forward too much. The substitutions that Unai Emery made, bringing on Joe Willock and Reece Nelson, were more offensive changes, and when you're up 2-0 away from home, you usually like to play a little bit more defensive and try to hold that lead. What happened is Arsenal continued to try to flood players forward on the counterattack, leaving the game wide open and for Watford to come right back at them, and it doesn't really suit Arsenal's game right now, especially with Granit Xhaka not being convincing so far, and honestly, the backline of Arsenal not being convincing so far either. This is what really led to that second goal, that penalty shot that David Luiz surrendered. There was a large gap between the midfield of Arsenal, who had all pushed up, and the back line, and this allowed 3 players of Watford to get through that midfield to really take on that Arsenal back line without any support. Pereira isolated David Luiz in a 1v1 situation, and with not a very good tackle inside the box from David Luiz, he surrendered the penalty shot. Give all the credit to Watford though, they really attacked and they changed their mindset that second half, really pressing, and they almost had somewhat of a nothing to lose attitude really coming at Arsenal, and they honestly probably should have taken all 3 points. In the end, the game ends 2-2. Moving now to Vitality Stadium, where Everton were looking to reverse their recent away form. They have one of the worst away forms over the past 2 seasons out of any Premier League team. Now, they did create a number of good chances, but they could not capitalize on them. Callum Wilson opened the scoring in the 23rd minute off of a scrambled corner kick that Everton did not mark correctly. They were marking zonal defensively, but once the second and third touch came inside of the box, they did not pick up. Calvert-Lewin then equalized in the 44th minute with a nice header off of a cross from Richarlison. This put them level at halftime. Then again, we have some pretty horrible defending at the back from Everton. Ryan Fraser on a free kick from the left side of the box, curled in and swiped but not cleared by Fabian Delph, and he ultimately deflects it into the back of his own goal. I don't know why he's using his left foot there as opposed to his right foot. It would seem more natural. Either way, it is happening pretty quickly, but it should have been cleared by somebody in the Everton defensive line. But where it really all falls apart defensively was that third goal by Callum Wilson, who got in behind way too easily. Yuri Mina stepped up to the ball and was caught ball watching. As the ball pinged around in the midfield, he never stepped back into his position, and Michael Keane never realized that he had stepped up, so they were both caught up forward, and all it took was a ball over the top to beat both of them, and Callum Wilson was through on the breakaway to put the game away. This game ended 3-1 for Bournemouth. Now we turn our attention to Villa Park, where Aston Villa were looking to keep consistent their recent home form. If I'm being honest, this was probably one of the more boring games to watch this match week 5, as this game ends in a 0-0 draw. I think one of the stories of the game for me was neither team being able to pick that final ball to be able to create chances. And I think that's been one of the stories, especially for Jack Grealish as the season has started. I don't think he's found his form yet, and I know he's capable of a lot more than he is showing right now. His creativity is what Aston Villa need to be able to put in more goals. The game really did get interesting as Masuaku was sent off with a second yellow in the 67th minute, but again, unfortunately, Aston Villa could not take advantage of this, and it almost seemed as though this brought a togetherness to the West Ham team, and I think they almost created the better of the chances to score in the end. As for now, that ends it for match week 5 of the Premier League. I will be looking forward to doing more of these videos in the future. Next week, we will move into match week 6, which will be very interesting as teams will be coming off of a week filled with Champions League and Europa League action. So we will see if there will be any lineup changes that are going to happen. As for now, if you liked this video, please leave a thumbs up. And if you want more content like this, please hit that subscribe button. As for now, that is all from me. And until next time, the rookie is signing off.